What's up, you guys? It's the Shadow Spirit 2, and today I wanted to make a theory video on God of War 5, or in a lot of senses, God of War 2. And one of the things I wanted to talk about was my theory on what I feel like what the sequel could be about, or at least things that I think can happen. So, this wasn't in the script, but I remembered that in some of these God of War spoiler casts that I decided to watch, um, there's some implications that we might get a prequel game, if not a prequel game, more so of a flashback in a sense. Like we'll probably get a flashback sequence or something like that where they talk about the time Kratos meets Faye and what they've gone through. There's that possibility too, and then also I'll save this one for the last part of the video. But okay, let's get into it. Okay, so in the secret ending, when you go home and Atreus has this dream of Thor showing up and how he talks about how Fimbulwinter was ending, and it turns out to be a dream for the future.
Atreus, are you ready?
Yeah, but I had the weirdest dream. Fimbulwinter was ending, and Thor came for us, here at the house.
It was only a dream.
But it felt different. It felt real. It felt like the future.
One of the things you got to remember is that Freya said that the wrath of Odin won't be far behind, knowing that Mimir is free.
This.
Freya? The goddess Freya?
You didn't know either? Sorry.
When word gets out that Mimir is free, the wrath of Odin won't be far behind.
Okay, and so this could be a reason why, Thor shows up too, on top of Kratos killing like Magni and Modi, or Kratos and Atreus killing Magni and Modi. Okay, another thing is that in Norse mythology, when the climax of Ragnarok is about to begin, Odin goes to Mimir for advice on what he should do, and he tells him that it is best just to go to war. So we know that God of War tells alternate versions of these stories. So let's say that Thor shows up to retrieve Mimir, and in this process he fights and like kills Kratos. And this could be the spot right here where Atreus and Kratos are like on the mural where he's dying. So, and as he's dying, I guess Kratos tells Atreus about, his past life, telling him, okay, he's cursed, and, he's dealt with all of these things from his gods and stuff like that. And he's, more insight on his past pretty much before he dies. And while this is happening, okay, if you remember early on in the game where Atreus said to Kratos, don't leave me alone like before. So this right here could be the implication, okay, like where if you watch John Ford's video, oh yeah, shout out to John Ford. I watched his God of War theory videos, and I like his videos, and yeah, he tackled topics I want to touch upon as well. Okay, so in this sense, you could say that the stuff that's coming out of Atreus' mouth, or he said that in his recent videos, he said that the words that are coming out of Atreus' mouth is like come, like come or whatever. So I feel like he could be trying to say like come back, like don't leave me, like something like that. That's what I picture him saying. And all this hatred or whatever that's in his words or whatever, or what he feels or whatever, is probably what conjures up the world serpent. Because, you know, and he's mad at, and that's the thing, he's mad at Thor, so he focused all of his hatred into these words that conjured up the world serpent. So I feel like, and that's where Ragnarok and all that happens. Now this part what I'm talking about is not in the script, but this is just something I'm talking about as I go. So that's one possibility too. So another thing is that Kratos is okay. Keep in mind that Kratos. Oh, and then there's also that possibility that as Thor takes the head of Mimir, he could possibly like kidnap Atreus as well. Now, keep in mind of this. Kratos, okay, Kratos is always known for coming back from the underworld and everything. We know that. So one of the things is that Kratos is worthy of going to Valhalla because he died in battle like a true warrior. But at the same time, seeing that he is a criminal and a murderer and the one who wiped out the Greek pantheon, the Aesir gods would probably see him as trouble and wouldn't really want them in their realm. So he would find himself back in Helheim.
When we killed the Reavers near my home, they came here. How did they return so quickly?
Time doesn't move the same between all realms, especially where the spirit world is concerned.
Like the light of Alfheim.
The opposite, in fact. The Lake of Souls feels faster than Alfheim time, but Hell is much slower than Midgard. Sorry, I'm sure that's confusing.
If we will be back to my son all the sooner, that is good.
Ah, aren't you a quick study?
This Valhalla, is it within Hell?
Oh, no. Valhalla is part of Asgard. Only the worthy dead go there, the warriors who die in glorious combat. Hell is for those who die in dishonor.
Criminals.
Aye, and those dead of disease, mishap, age.
It is dishonorable to grow old.
Well, never too late to go out fighting, I suppose.
So when Kratos gets to Helheim, I feel like he will already cross the bridge of the dam, and he will find his way back to Midgard with the aid of the Valkyries, because if you know in the game, if you free the Valkyries, you know they said, oh, you have our blessings and everything, and you know they're the ones who controls like where the souls go and everything like that. So because Kratos freed them in return and they give them their blessings, the thing about this is that I feel like years will pass during this time of Kratos trying to make his way back to Midgard through going from Helheim. And he will notice that a lot of time has passed after he died, because, you know, this is just building up for events of Ragnarok. And so seeing the world in a hectic state, I feel like that Kratos will, by the time Kratos gets back to Midgard, Atreus will already adapt the Loki lifestyle. Because another thing, if you look on the mural, you'll see him with the wolves or whatever. And at the same time, this is something that, you know, I feel like Atreus like will be alone for a long period of time. And if you remember, okay, I know this is probably irrelevant, but I'll bring this up. Okay, if you remember in God of War, I think it's Ghost of Sparta. I believe it's Ghost of Sparta, where Deimos, where he was captured, and during the time he believed that, okay, Kratos will come back, but then as time went on, he got angry and enraged and everything like that. So I feel like it'll be a similar situation like that, where he left him alone and everything. So Atreus gets, adapts the Loki lifestyle and everything. So by the time, Kratos comes back, I feel like the world will be in a hectic state, and this will be, Kratos will be reminded of what Zeus said to him before their last fight. And seeing that there is no other way, Kratos would have to kill Atreus. And then this will be a constant reminder that Kratos' suffering will never end, no matter what he does to try to make things right. So let's stop it right there. This could just be one of the possibilities. I have a few more. Also, another possibility is that Atreus could tell Mimir that, his name is Loki, and Mimir may have to warn Kratos too. And then other things is that it's Freya's involvement. I feel like Freya will be involved because, you know, of the death of Baldur and stuff. So I feel like initially she's gonna try to lash out and try to fight Kratos and all that. And I feel like it's a possibility that Kratos will probably have to kill Freya. If not, um, she will either be killed by like Odin or Thor. Like I feel like she'll try to help out at the end or somewhere like that, like halfway through the story or something. You know, I feel like you know, it'll probably be that moment where like, okay, like, you know, I need, you know, Kratos will probably ask Freya for her help and stuff like that, like she did for Atreus before. So I feel like it'll be something like that. And then another thing to remember is that Atreus still has his protection mark, so he can't, so he can't, so he can still be undetected by other gods. And then also, I feel like Freya will still show some type of remorse to Atreus as well. Also, it is possible that Freya may find a way back to Vanaheim, and somehow the Vanir gods will get involved too. I feel like, you know, we'll probably see Freya's brother or something like that, Freyr and stuff. And another thing is that's floating around is that Odin will probably manipulate Atreus, therefore he adapts the Loki mentality. And in Norse mythology, Loki is the adopted son of Odin, if I remember correctly, or if he is the son of Odin, you know, that makes him and Thor brothers. So this just goes back to what Kratos had said to Atreus, that, you know, who I was is not who you will be. Also, since Thor and Atreus are like, you know, part giant, it's possible that, like, okay, in this sense of, okay, let's say Atreus got kidnapped and got taken to Asgard or whatever. I feel like Atreus will probably like try to relate to Thor and stuff like that, seeing how that they're like by their mothers being like giants, and you know everything like that. And I feel like Atreus will probably, you know, going off off of what Kratos has taught him, he will try to like talk to Thor and telling him, like, you know, it's not right for gods killing other gods, and to stop the cycle of hatred between gods and their children. And then another thing is that you know, I feel like also is that what if the nine realms are leaking into each other? Like, if that makes any sense to anybody. Like, you notice the fog that covers the giants at the end of the game? That reminded me of the Niflheim fog, because it's a toxic fog and that you can die in it if you stay in it too long. And remember, Freya did say something, or someone has tampered with the natural flow of things in the Norse realm. One other thing to keep in mind is Tyr being in prison now, or possibly got killed by Odin or Thor. Another thing is that that's one of the things that's floating around, because a video that John had made, is that there's a possibility that Tyr could just be imprisoned or whatever. I feel like, okay, okay, initially I was like, he could be dead for the most part, but since that video came out, it's a possibility that he could just be imprisoned, or at least he could be imprisoned, but he was killed like later on, I feel like. And then, you know, but if he still is in prison, for the most part, Odin would want to keep him around because he needs the information on the other lands Tyr has visited or whatever and stuff like that. Because if you go to Helheim and you go to Odin's like hidden like chamber or whatever, you see the missing slab of Tyr like going to these different like realms and stuff like that and lands. And with that, I feel like these pantheons are going to go to war with each other, because they've talked about how each like symbol like represents war. So I feel like at one point, since Tyr is a god of war, he is, but he is known for stopping wars from happening. So I feel like these pantheons like will go to war with each other, And this is like, this is what Tyr is trying to prevent from happening. That's the thing too, and that's where he's gained like a lot of trust. So I feel like Odin needs that information or whatever too. But it's, yeah. So that's one thing I was thinking about too. If you look at the pictures of Tyr, like how he's going to different lands and he stops like different wars and everything, it's a possibility that will happen. So, these pantheons will go to war with each other. Also, sorry, I'm late into the editing, but I wanted to say that Mimir probably heard from Tyr about what happened to the Greek pantheon. Because if you go back and find out how Mimir found out Kratos was the ghost of Sparta, he says from what he heard, the pantheon had it coming. So it's possible that Tyr probably told him that.
Kratos. Zeus.
Zeus?
My father.
Your father was Zeus? Well, that explains a lot. Your father was Zeus? I finally understand. I'm dangling from the hip of the bloody ghost of Sparta.
Do not call me that.
Oh, don't mistake me, brother. From what I heard, the Pantheon had it coming. It's still a bit to take in. I knew you hate gods, but you really can't stay away from them, can you?
You must say nothing to the boy. He must never know.
Bollocks, brother. Respectfully, bollocks. He has to know. He'll never be whole without the truth. Look, I get it. You hate the gods. All gods. It's no accident that includes yourself. And it includes your boy. You see that? He feels that. He can't help what he is. He can't begin to help it because you haven't even told him. It's all connected, man.
You will tell him nothing.
Very well.
I did some more research on what Mimir was and Atreus said to the world serpent, and also, a little bit more info on the mural with Kratos dying. So for the Atreus part, if you notice at the end, he says Mug Te That pretty much means something like bite or like attack the old man. Means like older man, like uncle, like the older guy. And Te means the outer part of the membrane, or in other words, the head. And then the rune translation, that I've seen around, like I said before, is that Kratos will tell Atreus more about his past and how he's cursed, as he dies for the initial part. But as far as what's coming out of Atreus' mouth is what I said earlier. It's possible like all this focused like hatred is what like gave birth to the world serpent and everything. So there's that possibility that happens. So these letters now keep in mind, these letters that I looked up, they represent they have multiple meanings. So I'll just pick the few that are relevant to this topic. Okay, so I might be getting the words wrong, but I'll do all the stuff in the editing. But okay, so okay, Feu means wealth, foresight, fertility, and creation. Othala, that means heirloom, heritage, and land of birth. Thoristas, I'm sorry. That means relative force, defense, and conflict. Urus, that means physical strength, speed, and untamed potential. Raidho, that means Raidho, I'm sorry. I apologize for my pronunciation, but that means chariot, travel, journey, evolution. Hagalas, that means wrath of nature, uncontrolled forces. Menas, that means mankind, the self, friends, enemies, social order. Iguas, that means male fertility, gestation, and internal growth. Now, there's more backstory to these runes that I might cover, but for now, this is what we have. The next I really want to touch upon is God of War 3, and it's the ending of God of War 3 and the connection and Athena's connection to Kratos surviving. Also, this is one thing I want to say in the beginning of the video. There is a possibility that Faye might have been made out to be something that's good, and that someone that's good, and and saying, let me see. It's possible that Faye had her own agenda as far as with Kratos and everything. I mean, of course, for the most part, everything seems to be good and everything, but at the same time, this whole journey that Kratos went on and everything, this triggers the events for Ragnarok. So it's like she had her own agenda for everything, and it's like it's a possibility. I feel like it's a possibility that she could possibly be evil in some sense. Like, for example, if you know of Kaguya Otsutsuki in Naruto, in the Naruto series, Kaguya was made out to be a rabbit goddess, and that she was always veered as, like, as a good person, but then at the same time she was revered as like something that was evil as well. So there's a possibility that Faye could be made out to be doing all this stuff seemingly to be good to bring them closer together, but then at the same time you're causing the end to something. You're bringing the end to everything. You're bringing an end to everything. So there's a possibility, that Kratos, and then they're following orders. No, they're following orders. Kratos pretty much followed orders from somebody that's dead, pretty much. Well, she's dead now, but knowing that she can rely on Kratos and Atreus to carry out her plans. It's similar in the sense of Madara manipulating Obito. Like that's just one way of putting it. It's something like that, like where, okay, if you do this, we'll have all this and everything. But yeah, it's something like that. If you watch the Naruto series, it's something similar to that. It's like, or something like Black Zetsu. Like, it's, if you are into Naruto, you'll know what I'm talking about. But yeah, but it's something like that. Like, it was where it's like it's somebody controlling somebody, and that's the thing too. That's something too, and that's something that Kratos isn't pretty fond of doing, or going out for someone else's orders and stuff like that. But yeah, so this is just one of the things I really want to talk about for a while. And yeah, shout out to John Ford. I'll leave his channel in the description. And yeah, the Shadow Spear 2. And yeah, have a nice day.